Well, it's time to kick off 2025, and what better way than to dive straight into a movie I had no prior knowledge of the week before I went to see it. The Damned is a 19th century period piece about a group of fishermen and two women who are barely surviving during the cold winter months of the fishing season. One day, as they're getting ready to shove off for a day of fishing, Ava notices a ship off the coast by a group of jagged rocks seeming to be stuck. She watches when, to her horror, she notices the ship is sinking. The rest of the crew also watch and debate if they should go help them. The boss of the crew, played by the Hound from Game of Thrones, says it's not worth it because they're already starving as it is. Ava agrees but decides they shouldn't fish that day in honor of the dying men aboard the ship.
What?
Wait, what? A lot of you are starving. You're using your own fishing bait to feed yourselves and use that logic to decide not to try to rescue the drowning sailors, but you're not going to use that same logic for why you should still go out to fish?
Why?
The next day, Ava is walking around on a beach and finds a rope on the ground. She pulls it and reveals a barrel full of meat that was washed up on the shore from the wreckage. She tells the head fisherman, and they debate about going out to the wreckage to find more. They decide to do it, and off they go. They find more stuff, but also a group of sailors still alive. The sailors try to board the boat, but there isn't enough room, and they have to fight them off. This is when the movie ran out of budget to pay for the Hound, so he falls in the water and dies. The next day, they find bodies washed up on the shore. They put the bodies in brand new looking coffins, then randomly start talking about Draugr, who cares? Some Nordic ghost demon. Everybody dismisses it as an old wives' tale, but that night, Ava sees a dark figure huddled just out of sight and spooks her. The next day, the fishermen go out and get a great haul. They celebrate and get drunk. There's some sexual tension between Ava and another character, but it doesn't go anywhere. The same night, she has another nightmare of one of the sailors who has his jaw broken open when one of the other sailors punches him in the face with an oar, standing in a dark corner staring at her. Everybody asks her what's wrong, but they just chalk it up to the alcohol. As the movie progresses, Ava starts seeing more and more of the figure, and the rest of the crew start fighting amongst themselves and getting sick. The stories of the Draugr become more dire, and everybody starts to believe it until finally they go back to the coffins to start doing some Nordic rituals to the corpses to keep the Draugr away, only to find the broken jaw corpse to be gone. The movie goes on, and more of the villagers start dying. The other woman, Helga, gets lost in the mountains and freezes to death. And finally, at the very end, Ava shoots the Draugr and burns down the house, only for a flashback sequence to reveal it wasn't a Draugr after all. It was a sailor who mysteriously survived the wreckage, got to shore, hid among the villagers, stole their fish, and waited 3 or 4 days to reveal himself to Ava with nobody else watching, only for her to think that he's the Draugr so she can kill him and burn him alive.
What?
And that's it. That's The Damned. I have to say that was probably one of the worst ways to end a film like this. The first half of the movie is great, setting up the tension and making us feel for these fishermen as they bear the cold, harsh winter just so they can catch a lot of fish to sell and get rich for the rest of the year. The creeping dread of a haunting from sailors who thought they were wronged by the fishermen when they tried to save themselves from the wreckage, taking out the fishermen one by one as revenge. But no, we didn't get that story. We got everybody was just crazy and seeing things and getting randomly sick and dying. We fooled you, didn't we? When the credits started to roll, my hands were in the air, and I was looking around confused to see if I was being pranked with that ending. The movie isn't all bad, though. The acting and cinematography are great. Everybody plays their roles well, and wherever this film was filmed, served as a gorgeous backdrop for all of the outdoor scenes. I just wish the back half of the movie was as good as the front half. I like folk horror, and this would have been a great one to add to the collection. Unfortunately, the ending was so bad it drags down the rest of the quality of the film. If you're going to see this movie, I'd wait until it hits streaming, even though the runtime is only 90 minutes. It's not worth the rest of the money you're going to spend plus time driving to the theater.